Hello everyone, this is Ben, and today we're going to be answering the question, how do you get more experience as a beginner developer? So there we go, I have a little list here of things that you can do. So what can you do to get more coding experience? Well, there's a lot of different answers, and I'm going to be going, one by one. So first things first, always be coding. What I suggest is you should always be doing something with your free time. So always be doing something, always be trying to build a project on your own. If you follow a tutorial, try to build the things. And it's good to read, it's good to do tutorials, it's good to watch videos, but the best experience you can have is to be coding. And if I could give myself this piece of advice a few years ago, I would definitely do this. It's good to watch videos, but yeah, be coding, always be doing something. Next thing, you should choose a skill set. So choosing a skill set, you should think of the T model skills. So here's what the T model is. Here, a T model means that you have a lot of different skills on a surface level. So for example, this person knows a lot of different things on the surface. So change management, client management, supplier management, project management. You see, there's a lot of things that this person knows. And it's very good for you to know lots of things a little bit, and then to choose one where you become very, very specialized. So for example, it's always good that you know a little bit of, it's good to know JavaScript, HTML, CSS, TypeScript, a little bit of Vue, a little bit of Angular, a little bit of React, a little bit of SAS, a little bit of Docker, a little bit of CI/CD, a little bit of Jenkins. You could have a lot of skill that you should all be able to work with, and please choose one that you would be very good at. So for example, for me, my favorite skill to have is React. So React is the framework where I'm the most confident. So I use React with TypeScript, and this yellow column here for me would be React with TypeScript. Next one, read other people's code, especially open source. So it's always good to read other people's code. You look at your colleagues' code, and if you want to use something, well, if you want to download a package and you want to know how it works, always look into it. So let's say that, for example, you want to build a JSON web token for authentication purposes, and so you go on npm.js and you try to download a JSON web token. Well, every time you download a package, you will have access to the source code. And if you look at the source code, you're going to see lots of things here that are very interesting. So here in JSON web token, I would give a little look to see how this works. So this is the lib here. I would see some JS, and I see, okay, so what is this? I don't know, timespan JS. And when you read this, you would see, this is just 20 lines of code, and you could see the way that things were coded. So I could see in reading this that this is a little bit of old code, because I see some var. I'm not a big fan of using export with module.exports equal. I would rather create an object, but it's always good to see how people would create their code. And when you have this confidence, it also makes you feel way stronger as a developer, because, well, when you're using a package, it's nothing more than code. It's just someone else's code. So just look into this code and you will learn a lot of things. Next one is, Google. You cannot underestimate how Google is useful. Every time you have a problem, every time you have an error message, the first thing you should do is Google. It took me several years to learn this, actually, because there's always this will that I had to try to solve the issue by myself. But actually, you should always be looking for your error messages on Google. This also means one more thing, which means, learn how to name your problems. So if you want to look for something inside Google, then you would need to know exactly which question to ask. So, well, it's not the same thing to say, how come my promise always resolves to undefined? This is different from, well, promise doesn't work. It's very different. So the fact that you need to Google will also make you learn to name your problems. And when you learn to name your problem, this is half the work. Naming your problem is half the work. Peer review programming, code with a friend. It's always good to review with a friend. If you have the chance to be with someone who's also a coder, it's always good to look at their code. So it's a little bit the same as the previous point. Read books. There's a lot of books that you can read that are, well, don't read too much, okay? But if you have one or two books to read, I would recommend reading Clean Code. And I would also recommend Secrets of the JavaScript Ninja if you do JavaScript. Follow a few channels on YouTube. So a few channels for a web developer would be Web Dev Simplified with a guy called Kyle, who's very good. Kevin Powell for CSS, he's very good. James Quick is also very good. I would suggest looking at these people. Things you can do, but I don't specially recommend. So you will do a lot of algorithms. So especially if you have interviews at Facebook or Google or something, they will often ask you during interviews, some algorithms or doing some lead code or some code kata. Well, all of this is good if you have some time, and you just want to have some fun, but this is not really going to teach you coding and building websites and debugging. So for me, I wouldn't waste too much time on this. And please, one thing you should not do is to fall into tutorial hell. It's always good to find a tutorial and find a book, but just because you're reading something, just because you're watching a video, does not mean that you're learning anything. So if you're doing tutorials, please at some point stop the tutorial and try to code something, on your own. So first of all, code exactly what you see in the tutorial, and then code a project that uses what you're learning. So this is what I would suggest you. If you follow these few recommendations, I will guarantee you will be a way better coder in a year than you were today. So that was my piece of advice for new developers, and I'll see you in the next one.